Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to another Fantasy Life Championship live stream event. We are so excited to bring you another one of our Fantasy Life Championship drafts for a chance to win $500,000. I am joined, as always, by my good friend, Howard Bender. Howard, thanks so much for coming on again. Good talking with you.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you. So it's fantasy football draft season, Jeff. Like,
It is.
4th of July is like in the rear view mirror. We've been doing this for a couple of weeks, and now I feel like now it's like really now everybody's ready to sink their teeth in.
I agree. And I feel like things are starting to change a little bit with the draft last week. Some things were a little different, little tweaks there. Some people taking chances on different guys later in drafts as well. You hear these reports coming out with certain players making waves in, practices and camps and whatnot, and they start to move up draft board. So it's kind of exciting to see. And we are definitely excited for this Fantasy Life Championship draft tonight. As always, you have any questions, comments at all, Howard and I are happy to take those in the chat here for the YouTube stream here. And we already got some banter going with Brent Campbell here. He's a good follower, as always, on here and giving us some good questions and some good banter. So appreciate that, Brent. Anybody else have any questions as well? Put them in there. Howard and I will tackle those for sure. We'll talk about all different sorts of subjects too. Always, Howard, tell people how they can get into one of these drafts and take advantage of your promo code that you offer specifically with your RTSports page, and let people know if they're first-time users what they can do to get involved.
It's good. Go to rtsports.com/Bender. It's that simple. Click on, there are two buttons that'll show up on that page. One will say draft against me. One will say deposit. If you click the deposit button, it's your first time depositing. RT Sports has been kind enough and very generous enough to offer up a 50% match on your first deposit up to $500. So it's just a great way to get in, and then boom, jump in, hit the draft against me button, and just go check out the Beat Howard Bender best ball, $10,000 best ball tournament that's going on. I just fired up another couple of drafts, Jeff, and one like filled like ba-boom.
Just like that.
Already today, and there are two more slow clocks, 2 hour, 4 hour, 8 hour, your choice. Oh, my Lord. Such good stuff. Such good stuff. We were just talking about Brandon Fox, last year's winner of the $25,000 best ball championship. I had him on the Fantasy Alarm Show on Sirius XM. That dude is locked in, right? He's done like 50 Beat Howard Bender drafts already. I'm loving that.
Did he give away many secrets at all when you had him on? Anything big revealed for you at all?
Every secret.
Every secret. He let it all out there.
Like, he laid it all out there, told you exactly what you, right down to the point where he was giving us late round sleepers for this year.
Nice.
That we should be targeting. So if you have a SiriusXM subscription, maybe download the app and go listen to, it was last Friday's show. What a blast. Thank you, Brandon. If you are listening, man, such a great time having you on the show.
Yeah. And you had Peter Valiotis as well. He was our big champion of the TFC last year, won $500,000. Another great owner as well, and a great guest to have on. So maybe we'll have to try to get one of these guys on to join us for one of these live streams and have us talk it through. Let's look at this draft now, Howard. It's definitely underway, fast and furious here. We're 4 picks in, and it looks like we have Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs. Again, nothing crazy here. There's a lot of new faces in this draft, though, so that's good. I'm kind of interested to see how that plays out. It's good to see what different owners think. The one owner's on the clock now, OIVO2. He's been in several of them, so but he's one of the few that has been in a lot of them for the most part. These are all new owners, so it's kind of interesting to see how this is going to play out tonight. We're paused right now, so that means an owner might not be there, Howard. That's one of the perks, though. I'll just point that out. If you are on a high-stakes draft here at RealTime Fantasy Sports, we have a monitor in each draft. So we're there with you. If something goes wrong, we know every once in a while, you're in a storm in your neighborhood and your electricity goes out, you name it. We're here to help you get through it so you don't get hosed on your picks, and we're here to monitor it for you. I think that's one of the perks of drafting with us here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. We're proud of that. we're here to monitor your high stake drafts. And that's probably what's going on right here. Something is amiss at this point, but hopefully we get it straightened out here and it gets moving again. But Howard, 3 picks in, Jamar Chase, Bijan, and Gibbs. That's chalk for the most part, nothing crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, Gibbs, I mean, you can see the little clock. It's what I love. Can I gush a little bit about RT Sports? Right. One of the things that, like, I've always been enamored by is the live draft board. Right. I mean, that's why I use it for like as many leagues as I possibly can. And I just, I go through it because, I mean, it's so great. It can share these draft boards, check everything out. They're easy to follow. And the little clock there means that 4th and forever timed out. It took Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, I don't know if Jahmyr Gibbs was next on the ADP list there or if he had.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Right. So I'm sure that's what they're kind of. Oh, look, see, I see the clock ticking again. Yep. We're back in business here, Jeff.
So I got to ask you, so this is what kicked off this week, the big Scott Fishbowl. We don't host it, but it's a huge industry thing. It'd be, something that I'd like to talk about with you as well. I don't know how deep you are into the draft, but I feel like the scoring this year has just kind of changed everything. Because if you're not familiar, it's a free-for-all at every position. So it's flex box spots all the way around, except for you can only have 2 QBs at that super flex, but the rest of the positions all flex. It's kind of crazy. It's just kind of changed it for me. I don't know about you. I feel like my draft's totally different than I've done in the past on the Scott Fishbowl. I don't know how deep you are into it.
I'm 7 rounds into mine right now. I'm loving it. I really am because the thing about it is when you deal with a super flex draft, it's like quarterback, right? Like, first 2 rounds can be just brutal. What Scott did here by making volume king and talking about, right? It's like the half point per carry and the point, it's a point per target and a point per reception. If you're playing on, another site, it's 2.5 points per reception. It's tight end premium. What he's done is he's really he's made it to the point where the premium guys, the starters on their teams, right? Those are the guys who are going to be like dominant, right? Bijan, that comment today from out of the Falcons was that, we have outlandish expectations for Bijan Robinson. Like, yes. And the way the scoring is all set up, guys who are going to carry the football a ton are going to score a ton of points. And it just it levels that playing field. Quarterbacks still score a ton of points, but it's bringing up those RB1s. Brent Campbell made the comment in the chat about me being a little rough on the GM today because we have a very differing opinion about Chuba Hubbard. And, I look at Chuba Hubbard as a guy who went from, 900 yards and 5 touchdowns to 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns in 2 fewer games in Dave Canales' system, right? He's the only running back who's really touching the football there. Yeah, splash in, Raheem Blackshear somewhere or another, but overall, so it's those guys, those volume getters, those volume backs that are so valuable. You start seeing a lot of people, and not except for me, not me, because so many people in my division are going so bully running back, right? That all of a sudden I'm like, I have to take the value that's with me. It's like CeeDee Lamb was my first pick. Jalen Hurts was my second pick. AJ Brown, I paired him up with there. What about you?
So I took CeeDee Lamb first, ironically. What pick did you have to get him?
8.
I had 10. So I got him with my 10th pick. And then like you, I went with the volume running backs. I took Derrick Henry with my second pick. I also took Hubbard. I took Chuba Hubbard in the 5th round. I just felt like you said, you get the volume in this with the carry, bonus there. And then I wasn't as crazy with the QB just because of the way it was set up. I took Dak Prescott to pair with Lamb in round 6, which I was really happy about, but that was my first QB. I'm going to take another one, but I just felt like the value of getting some of these guys that were there. I had Brian Thomas, Tyreek Hill, Hubbard, and Dak Prescott. I'm 6 rounds into it, but it's definitely an interesting dynamic this year picking. It always is what Scott Fish does, but I'm having fun with it so far.
Yeah, definitely. Me too.
All right.
And you know, I mean, the quarterback situation, it always depends on where you are in your draft and what everybody else is doing. Right now that like all of a sudden you've increased the value of, you know, the flex guys who are out there. And yes, like position doesn't matter. Ultra flex, which is 2 super flex spots and like 6 just any flex kind of guys that you want, also changes up strategies because, you know, and it was kind of funny because what happened to me at the tail end of my draft behind me, they had gone so running back heavy that I was like, okay, you know, I'll be able to come back around. I took AJ Brown after that 3rd round reversal to pair with Jalen Hurts. And then I was like, and I'll take, you know, running backs on the way back because what happens is when you do something like an ultra flex, people just kind of, not that they go on autopilot, but the mentality is, oh, I got to get some wide receivers, right? Or I got to get my quarterback now. And so like, that's why I was like hoping that was what they were going to do, you know, and they didn't. And I think it was like out of 12 picks, the 4 guys behind me, 9 of those picks were running backs.
Interesting. Yeah, my thought process too, looking at it, was like, I just got to go for the highest scoring, who I think is going to score the most. It doesn't matter what they play. I don't care what position. It doesn't matter. I don't need to fill out 3 receivers. It's just definitely interesting. So I'm having fun with it. I'm looking forward to see how it plays out the rest of the way. And before I leave that, one other quick mention of that is it's interesting to me being on different sites, how the players go in different spots, because I'm so used to drafting here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. I feel like there's value to be had in certain positions already. Hubbard was one of them. I feel like DeAndre Swift's really low as well, but it's definitely interesting to see how the different sites have the different you know, good values, in my opinion. It's something to check out when you're drafting, because you can find some diamonds in the rough there. I feel like
I say that to everybody. If you're playing on different sites, take the time, show up to your draft room early and go through the player queue. Because it is amazing how you see, you know, people were low. I remember last year right here on RTSports, Mike Evans was actually really low. And I kept fucking I'm so excited. I kept grabbing Mike Evans,
man,
because people were like, what the hell? Where was Evans? And I was like, he was all the way down there. So it doesn't matter. Like, you know, RT Sports, Sleeper, MFL, ESPN, Yahoo, take the time. Like I implore you, just take the time to go through it, because Jeff's right. You're going to find ridiculous bargains. Ridiculous.
Agreed. All right, let's look at this draft now. We had Saquon Barkley go after the stoppage there with Gibbs, and then Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Derrick Henry, Ashton Genty, Christian McCaffrey, Puka Nacua, Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra St. Brown. 2nd round starts Nico Collins, Brian Thomas, Bucky Irving, Devon Achane, Josh Jacobs, Rashee Rice, Chase Brown. So Henry went a little earlier, so we couldn't get that Henry Achane pairing again, Howard. It's Henry and Rashee Rice.
2 weeks in a row.
I know, 2 weeks in a row. They're trying to buck the trend there a little bit, it looks like. Nothing too, I mean, Justin Jefferson, I feel like the last draft I watched as well, he went higher than Lamb. So I don't know. I still feel like I'd rather go Lamb. I just trust that QB situation more.
Yeah, that's definitely, that's the way it is. And, you know, and you flip flop back and forth. And I've been doing that in the best balls when I have had that option, is that I'll take Lamb here. Means that next time, if I'm making that decision again, I'm going to take Jefferson. And, you know, it's not always, you know, foolproof, but I'm kind of, you know, in that. And it's the same thing, right? It's like, we don't know JJ McCarthy, because, you know, it's so funny too, because I do trust in JJ McCarthy. I do think that he's got talent, but you're talking about a kid who came from a very, very run heavy program in Michigan. And then in his first NFL year, then he gets hurt, and now he's got to come back from the injury and deal with like this, you know, heavy pass volume offense that Kevin O'Connell likes to run. I almost think that it might have helped him to just sit and hold the clipboard for a full year and just watch and learn.
I agree. I don't think that's a bad thing by any means for some QBs to get the chance. Look at what Jordan Love, he kind of worked in seamlessly there in Green Bay. Looked really good when he got a chance to start. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to get thrown into the fire. But I think nowadays it used to be that's what they always wanted to do. But with the success some of these young QBs have had right away, it's kind of changed that line of thinking, I feel like, in the NFL. All right, let's look at some of these builds here. We got 3 teams with 2 receivers: Justin Jefferson, Drake London, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Monroe St. Brown, Nico Collins. I really like that Neighbors-Thomas pairing. So 2 second-year receivers with huge volume potential there. The Vipers grabbed those 2 guys to start their draft. I like that start for him for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic, start for. I mean, absolutely. I mean, especially because I know the running backs that you can get in rounds like 4, 5, and 6. To have those elite targets that you're getting from Neighbors and Thomas is huge. I think this might be the highest I've seen Bucky Irving go, actually.
Oh yeah, that is really high. Yeah, you're right. He went ahead of a chain, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams. Yeah.
And I believe, as you predicted also, Rashee Rice's ADP climbing up. That's an early pick of Rashee Rice as well.
It is. Ahead of AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson. Interesting. Chase Brown's another guy. We saw him go earlier last week too. I like him. I just don't know if I like him more than someone like Jonathan Taylor and Kyron Williams, because they get more chances, I feel like.
Yeah, obviously a pass-heavy offense there. I mean, Chase Brown does stay on the field a lot, which is great. But, yeah, I mean, Kyron Williams, what do you have, like a 93% snap share last year?
Yeah.
We've been talking about that. Because of the Scott Fishbowl, we've been looking at who's playing the most snaps, who's seeing, who's getting all of that work, because that's important, right? I mean, that is, if you're on the field for 93% of the snaps, you've got a great chance of touching the ball a ton. So, yeah, I like that. And Chase Brown, if they are going to be in pass heavy mode because the defense stinks, you're not going to see as many like check downs as you really want when you've got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And I'm actually hearing some good things about Jermaine Burton nowadays also.
Interesting.
Right?
Interesting, yeah. I mean,
it makes me a little nervous for poor Mike Gesicki, Andre Yosivas.
That's true. Yoshivas made a little name for himself last year when he got playing time. Jermaine Burton, though, he definitely has some talent. Younger player, could be a good fit for the slot, I guess, there. But I just think he's a guy I'd much rather have in a best ball format to take a chance on later in drafts. I just don't know if the consistency will be there for him, quite frankly. So we got Brock Bowers there in round 2 to last pick in round 2 to the Doge 39 team, then Lamar Jackson. If I'm not mistaken, I think the team last week on the pick and first took Bowers and a QB as well. So he's trying to stack his starting lineup there. Jamar Chase, Brock Bowers, Lamar Jackson.
Number 1 wide receiver, number 1 tight end, number 1 quarterback.
Yeah. Can't be too upset about that for sure.
Oh, gee willikers. I can't believe that. Oh, nuts, Jeff. I don't know what to do now.
So, like I don't know about you, this is totally different draft, but when I'm doing an auction, that's kind of my thinking when I go into it. I want to try to get, those number 1 guys at each position. It's one of the rare formats where you can do that, but that's just kind of my line of thinking when I go into an auction draft. Like, hey, I want to try to get a number 1 at each position that's, elite. And it's one of the only drafts you can do that besides what Doge did there at the start of the draft. Though I definitely like a good auction draft. I don't know about you.
Dude, auctions are my jam, baby. I love a good auction. Love it so much.
Yeah, I'm in a big league here with the Godfather, Charlie Wiegert here. He's a St. Louisan as well, and I'm in a league. He got me in this league several years ago. It's a really fun auction league, but I was looking forward to it every year, and it's always good to see the Godfather there, one of the greats in the industry.
Charlie Wiegert. I love Charlie. I do. Yeah. I do.
Good guy. He is.
He's one of the few people who I could say is an OG ahead of me.
He is an OG. He is definitely an OG. I mean, he used to run things when they used to have to like mail in their picks for fantasy. Like that's when he started. It's crazy. He used to tell me stories about that. But yeah, definitely interesting. Times have changed for sure. We got 3 QBs this round, Howard: Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels. So kind of the order for things here with the QB position for the most part, kind of come to expect that. You never know when they go in these drafts like this, but they're all going 3rd round in this one.
Yeah, which is, this really is, it's par for the course with the way people are handling their quarterbacks this year. It's a steady progression throughout the draft, but 3rd round here, 8th round, watch out for a quarterback run. 10th or 12th round, watch out. There's another, depending on who's building their roster that way. But yeah, man, listen, again, I have no argument against investing in that top quarterback. When you look at it, you always have to look at it in relation to what you're giving up by going quarterback at that point. But I like the depth at running back, and I like the depth at wide receiver this year. And these mobile QBs, they do have an advantage. There is a points advantage to it. There's just, you can't, the numbers don't lie. Now, I could sit there and I could look at like Josh Allen's numbers and tell you that if you take away, the double-digit rushing touchdowns, everything else screams Bo Nix. So if you don't believe that Allen's, rushing touchdowns are going to stay at 14, well, then maybe you decide that you either pivot to somebody else or you say, ooh, maybe I will go for Bo Nix. There's definitely different directions that you can run here, but I've really just stuck with the whole, give myself the mobile upside.
I used to be a guy that would never spend an early round pick on a QB, but the last few years I've changed it. I just think it's an advantage of these high ceiling guys on a weekly basis to get you those consistent numbers that can go off for huge numbers like Lamar and Jaden Daniels. I think it's worth the capital at this point. I never used to kind of share that line of thinking, but I've moved that way now, and I'm good with doing it. I don't always do it, but I'm not anti going a QB early. So Howard, we got a couple interesting builds here. So that Vipers team there at the end took 4 straight receivers: Neighbors, Thomas, Devontae Adams, and Terry McLaurin. Those are 4 studs. And he's going to have to maybe get some of those running back guys you were mentioning that you think can bring value in the 5, 6, 7 round range.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to. You're going to have to fish for it. Me personally, going 4 wide receivers, and I get it, right? You start 2 wide receivers, and then you have 2 flex spots, right? So who's to say that you need more than 2 running backs? And if you do the, like a 0 RB theory or whatever, and you kind of go with that, but this is that area where I like to live as far as the running backs go, right? Like a 3rd round Breece Hall, Brent Campbell, who he's turned into my absolute favorite player here in the world. Not only do you love the logo and the Tinker Stinker, he's active in chat. He says, don't forget about the auction best ball championships that we talked about. I think that was last week or the week before we discussed that.
Yeah.
He also wants to know, does the player ranking change with more drafts? Is it a live ranking? Is RTSports, is it set up based off of ADP or based off of rankings in ADP?
It's a good question. It is actually set up by yours truly right here. So I control the rankings on the site. I definitely look into stuff like that, though, ADP and whatnot. And we have kind of stuff that I can look at, which tells me if players' ADPs are moving up and moving down, so I can, kind of rank them more accordingly to what people are drafting like. But it falls on my shoulders, and I try to do a good job of keeping it kind of in line with the ADP, but it definitely has some of my spin to it as well.
See, I love that. That's how I build the cheat sheet over at Fantasy Alarm, right? I definitely look at the ADP because it's my rankings, but with ADP baked in. So it's like, if I really love a guy, right, well, I'll have him higher. I'll have him around higher than maybe his ADP because I want you to go and get this guy. I believe in him, right? But if it's like just a guy who's just kind of fallen in line, then chances are I'm not, really doing too much, with him there. So I like how you set that up and how you do it. And now I'm like, yeah, that's good to know. That is very good information to know.
Except for my Mike Evans ranking last year.
Well, I mean, listen, man,
help you out.
I love that, man. I love that. I mean, listen, it was like one player that was like this, like weird, like offset for a lot of people. And if you weren't in on Mike Evans, I mean, let's face it, he would not have gotten 1,000 yards if they didn't give him that last catch. You remember that last catch, week 17?
I do remember that.
Right? It was like, I don't remember who the defensive back was, but I was like, is he a matador? Is he like, Olay? Go ahead. Right this way, Mr. Evans. Here's your 11th straight 1,000-yard season. Enjoy your meal.
The only bad thing about having the rankings that are yours truly on here is when you draft with your friends in home leagues and whatnot, and they give you a hard time for not picking. They say I manipulate the rankings to put my players lower that I want, and they give me a hard time about that. But that's for another. That's oh well.
Maybe they should start up their own website.
Exactly.
Their own rankings. What blog are they on? Let me know.
I'd like to think, Howard, I think that's the earliest we've seen Chuba Hubbard go. Is this all because of us talking him up? I mean, the first pick in round last pick in round 3, I think that's still the earliest we've seen him go in a draft.
That it is.
It's all.
But I will say this. I will forget. It is. It's just I mean, but I mean, Kenneth Walker in the 3rd and Chuba in the 4th, maybe. Right? Is Brent Campbell trying to manipulate the ADP here with the early Chuba pick? But I will say this though. I mean, it is early and stuff like that. When you're picking on the wheel, though. Like you do, like if there's a guy that you really want, are you really going to let the whole draft go by? Maybe just reach a little for this guy here, right? Because you really want him. I always feel like I'll excuse somebody reaching by a round, for, ADP wise, if they're picking close to the wheel and they're worried that he's just not going to come back to them.
No, I totally agree. I think it's definitely you want a player and you're picking on the wheel like that. You're playing with fire if you if you want to hold out and think they're going to last to you. So I'm all for it. If that's your guy, go get him. We always say that anyway, even with that ADP and you're picking anywhere in the draft. If you want a player and you know where he's going, then you want to go a round or two earlier, then go ahead and go for it. So we got another build here with 4 running backs, the OVO. He has Barkley, Taylor, Amarion Hampton, Joe Mixon, and then Ladd McConkey as his receiver. So we want really running back heavy. There's 3 teams total with 3 running backs. Nerd has Ashton Genty, Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, and then 4th and forever as Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyron Williams, and James Cook. Quite frankly, all 3 of those teams have really, elite running backs, 3 elite running backs on their roster. So that's kudos to them for filling that position out there. I mean,
I love a thick running back build. How about that? Right? We gotta have to. We need some. Zero RB. They got theirs. We could say bully RB as a way, but I'm gonna try and make thick RB.
There you go.
A way to go as far as that goes. I like the strategy. I really do. I think that, one of the things that I think we all learned last year, and I'm not going to say that it's the same from year in and year out, but the development of the zero RB, philosophy, like if you guys track the progression in fantasy sports, right? You had, what was it? It was like the late 90s where you had your Sean Alexander's, LaDainian Tomlinson's, Terrell Davis's, like the running backs who were like ridiculous, right? Yep. If you didn't have one of those running backs that went early on in your draft, then you were constantly playing catch up. So what did they do? Everybody started going to PPR to increase the value of the wide receivers. Then all of a sudden it was like, it was the 3, where did it go right after that? It was like PPR grew, 3rd round reversal started up, like people started doing stuff like that in there. And, and then all of a sudden it was like, we started seeing more and more shared backfields where everybody was like, well, screw it. Running backs get hurt. I'm going to take a lot of wide receivers and I'm going to go with the 0 RB strategy. It's not necessarily like, yes, does that hit every so often? Maybe, sure. But I think what we learned last year is that there's definitely a resurgence in running backs, and running backs are your bread and butter. He who touches the ball the most scores the most points. That's like the Scott Fishbowl thing with volume being king. That's why quarterbacks always score the most points. They're always involved in the play. They're always involved there. Running backs, wide receivers are dependent on their QB, dependent on their scheme, dependent on the defense that they're going up against. So, I kind of feel like, we've had this, I'm not going to say it's a renaissance, but I think we all kind of got a little bit of a wake-up call that time to stop with the silly nonsense of 0 RB. You don't want to miss out on these top running backs.
No, I totally agree with you there. I've never gone to the 0 running back theory. I just don't feel comfortable with it. I guess that my old school thinking there, we always, load up running backs in the early rounds. I'm still kind of that way for the most part, but I definitely think getting one of those solid RB1s. And I do think that it is deeper this year a little bit. I feel better about it, but I still feel like there's still guys that I'm more comfortable with. So are there guys in these middle to later rounds, like this rounds picking right now, like RJ Harvey, James Conner, DeAndre Cook? I like them, but I still think there's some question marks with them, and that's why they're falling to this point. So definitely some strategy there when you're picking these running backs on how you want to play it out.
Listen, I think you could, I could give you a negative comment about literally every player.
You're right.
Every player. And I've done that actually. And maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe on, Tuesday, the FSGA drafts are going on next week and they're all here on RTSports. Maybe I'll just do that and I'll just bash every single pick instead, like give that negative as opposed to, oh, what a great pick. And oh, what a great sweet build. No, I might not do that. But the running backs in this, listen, I love RJ Harvey. I love DeAndre. I like DeAndre Swift. I like DeAndre Swift because he's the only game in town.
Yeah.
Obviously, Roschon Johnson, nobody's into that. I feel like, DeAndre Swift is going to see some nice work there. RJ Harvey, I think he ends up in that, if you're going to take Joe Lombardi's offense and compare it to what he's done in the past, I think he's got himself the, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram 1-2 punch with RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins. And I think Harvey plays that Alvin Kamara role. So I love that. And then James Conner, what does this boy have to do to get some respect on his name?
It's true.
What's he done wrong for everybody? Why? I love him.
He's beat cancer. I mean, come on.
He beat cancer, for crying out loud, and he's still delivering fantasy championships.
Be a first-round pick because of that. God.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to take him in the first round. Come on.
You could do like the Festivus, airing of grievances for all your picks. That's going to be. We're going to come up with the fantasy Festivus. How's that? Oh, I think somebody just wrote the weekly Bender this week. Oh boy. I'm just trying to help.
You know what? You just did. I love that. That's a great idea. I'm totally stealing that idea. Unless you tell me not to.
No, it's all yours, my friend. All yours, my friend. All right, let's look at some of these picks now. You mentioned RJ Harvey. They went beginning around 5, then Jalen Hurts, DJ Moore, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, DK Metcalf, James Conner, Devonta Smith, Xavier Worthy, Chris Godwin, David Montgomery, Tony Pollard. So Chris Godwin, coming back from that terrible leg injury, it's not a torn ACL, though. I'm just kind of interested to see how he returns from that. He was having a monster season before he got hurt. I took him on like every one of my teams last year because I just felt he was set up well. And, the low touchdowns hurt his value going into last year. So I just thought he was way undervalued, and I was super happy until he got hurt. But what do you think? You think he's going to come back, be ready week 1 and be ready to go and help fantasy teams once again? You think he's going to be a good value pick there in round 5?
I'm so torn here, but yeah, I do think so. I do, because from everything that we're hearing out of Tampa's, coaches in camp, they are bullish on his recovery.
Mm-hmm.
They say that he's doing well, that he's ahead of schedule. I haven't heard anything about him potentially missing games this season, and maybe they ease him in a little bit the first couple of weeks, and I'm okay with that. Right? Take Emeka Egbuka for a spin, see what he does. See if Jalen McMillan, if what you saw from him over the last 5 games of the season, is that real? And give Godwin a chance to just kind of work his way back in, like keep the pressure low, because that once he's at 100%, how good he is. And it's no disrespect to McMillan. It's no disrespect to Emeka Egbuka. But when Chris Godwin is at 100%, I will take him over those 2 guys 99 times out of 99 times.
Yeah, I agree. And returning from an injury like this, which is just not heard of as much. I mean, you don't know what the recovery is like. It's not an ACL, which we know when people come back from that, they're just not quite as good, that first half, in my opinion, of the season when they're playing. So this coming back from a gruesome leg injury like that, I just don't know what that means. Like, how does that feel? It's hard for me to get a read on it. With
you're still picturing his foot.
Oh my God, no, it's awful. Yeah,
you're still picturing it. I have Alex Smith nightmares all the time.
They showed that. Did you see that? There was some picture circulating of him on X I saw where they showed his leg at the beach and it's still like mangled. Just awful. Oh my God. We've lost Howard.
Oh, it's the worst. Listen, I don't have the stomach for that kind of stuff.
I really don't. I can't look at it. When they show the replays, I turn away. I can't do it.
My brother's a doctor. My sister's a doctor. Me, I'm like, no.
Forget it. Yeah, I'm with you there, Howard. All right, let's look at the next round now. We got Isaiah Pacheco, Calvin Ridley, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Hunter, Caleb Johnson, Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce, Aaron Jones, Quinshon Judkins, Jerry Jeudy, and Jawan Jennings. So Travis Hunter, I'm going to be more intrigued by him as camp opens and see how they're using him. I don't know. I don't have a good feel for his value at all at this point. I think he's really kind of a boomer bust pick in round 6, quite frankly.
I think what the issue is that Travis Hunter is a better cornerback than he is a wide receiver.
Yep.
You saw that in college. He's still catching footballs against his body, right? Mm-hmm. He's not catching. He needs to catch it with his hands a little bit more. Otherwise, he's just going to get jacked up on the regular, and he's never going to hold on to the football. So he needs to do that. What I kind of feel, and I almost feel like Liam Cohen knows that he doesn't need to develop him as a cornerback. I think, he's just that good. Mm-hmm. Learn the wide receiver position in the NFL. Yeah, we'll give you some packages there defensively, but we want you to learn and be focused here as a wide receiver, as a pass catcher. And then if you show that you can dominate, on that, we can potentially open up, more work defensively for you. I kind of feel like that's what they're doing with him, which I'm not against. I think that he's probably going a round or 2 higher than he probably should, right? Because he still is the number 2 guy, and they've got De'Ami Brown as a field stretcher. And if he is struggling with catching the football with his hands, then maybe he doesn't deliver on the promise. But I think there is really good upside with him. But that's a guy here. I might throw that cliche out of, I think I'd rather have him in best ball.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Same way, Howard. Those are going to be the next words out of my mouth. I was going to say that exactly. Definitely would rather have him in a best ball format. We're throwing out all the cliches tonight.
Why not, man? Why not?
Yeah.
Because we're in the best shape of our lives right now, Jeff. Let's go.
I wish I could say that.
Dude, I'm in horrible shape. Please. Round is a shape. That's what I tell everybody.
So it's kind of interesting here, though. Like we have several teams that kind of have a starting lineup kind of figured out here. The first team there has Lamar Jackson, then Travion Henderson, R.J. Harvey, Jamar Chase, Chris Olave, Brock Bowers is his tight end. Then you got RTS Loyalty there picking 5. He's got Josh Allen, then DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Drake London, Josh Allen, and George Kittle. Then the team after that, same way. He has CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, Chase Brown, Breece Hall, Burrow, Kelsey, and then the team immediately picking after break alumni there, aching back. He has Jaden Daniels with James Conner, Derrick Henry, Rashee Rice, Ted McMillan, and Sam Laporta. So I'm just looking at, I guess that's 4 teams there. Anyone you like the best out of those 4 between Doge, RTS Loyalty, Break, U Alumni, and aching back to kind of have their lineups already kind of set at those key positions?
I'm kind of, I'll lean Doge 39.
Yeah.
I have to lean there. I'm bullish on RJ Harvey, and we'll see about Travion Henderson. I don't love the Chris Olave pick. I just think that he's like one hospital ball away from being done. And when you've got inexperienced quarterbacks like Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler, it's dangerous. So I don't really love that, but I love the player himself. If he stays healthy and he does gel with the QBs, he could be a fantastic pick. But I think Doge is probably my favorite there. I do like RTS Loyalty, Loyalty Rewards. Did you tell everybody about your Loyalty Rewards program? Is that over?
I think today is the last day. We extended it.
Oh.
And we're giving people one more day to take advantage of the Loyalty Rewards. So if you sign up for one of these leagues, you get some loyalty money put into your account that you can use towards pick'em contests and other contests as well. So definitely take advantage of that. So sign up for a draft. You can do it right now. You don't have to do the draft immediately. So you can sign up for a draft and then pick your date later. So take advantage of those rewards. Again, I think today's the last day that we have the loyalty rewards. If not, it's the 15th. I should know this, but I know it was either today or the 15th, halfway through the month there. But regardless, take advantage of that. It's a good program we're running. We're doing all sorts of exciting stuff too, coming up here in the coming weeks. We have our 30th anniversary at RealTime Fantasy Sports coming up here in August. I know it's crazy. They were one of the first products on the web. RealTime Fantasy Sports was. I was not around for the launch, but they were one of the maiden sites you could run your leagues on. So it's really kind of cool. They're still going strong, and I'm excited to be a part of that. But we're going to be running some fun stuff with that as well, giving people some rewards there, and so you'll want to keep an eye on that. So that'll be coming up in the coming weeks also. So Howard, we're well into this draft. It's a Fantasy Life Championship draft, $500,000. If you want to get in one of these drafts, go to RTSports.com. Howard has a great promo. If you're new to the site, go to RTSports.com/Bender, and you can get a deposit code match up to $500 of 50%, correct?
Correct. Up to $500, 50% match on the first deposit.
Yep, exactly. So, you sign up, you put in $500, you get 250 match there, and you can almost get in 3 of these Fantasy Life Championship drafts. So,
well, what you should do is you should put in 600, get the match for the 300.
There you go.
Because it's 3 teams for 850, baby. Come on. I know a good bargain when I see one.
And then you got $50. You can go in and join a different best ball.
Join 2 Beat Howard Bender draft.
Exactly. And that's a chance to win $10,000 as well. Maximizing your chances there.
Jeff, what do you think of Break You Alumni's team? We started talking about, as we were kind of talking through it, the teams that had sort of complete. I'm kind of digging on this, right?
I am too.
Chase Brown.
I would be digging on it a little more if he took Jonathan Taylor. If he would have taken Taylor and paired him with Hall,
yes,
I'd really like that a lot. Yes. And then Burrow and Metcalf and Kelsey. I mixed feelings on Deebo Samuel, but at that point of the draft, I think he's worth a shot there. But definitely a really good core for that team. And that's 2 really good, low end number 1 backs, and he's got a top 5 QB, arguably maybe the best receiver, CeeDee Lamb outside of Jamar Chase. So Yeah, it's definitely a good build. I was having a tough time when I was asking you that question, trying to figure out which of those 4 teams that I liked the best. I had some debates going on back and forth, but I may go with that one just because I like that stack of running backs there, and I love Burrow for this season as well. I think Kelsey's going to have another good year.
I think Kelsey's going to surprise a lot of people. I think a lot of people are just, oh, he's washed, he's gassed. Maybe everybody's sick of the New Heights podcast or sick of hearing about Taylor Swift. I'm embracing it. I think it's making him so happy.
I agree.
Right. And he's like, 100% supported in everything there. I'm fine with Travis Kelce. I'm actually bullish on this, on the Chiefs passing game this year. I really do think they want to push the ball downfield more than they have been here in recent seasons. So I'm kind of psyched on that.
And I'm kind of interested to see what this No Joe Ford does here. He has one running back. We talked about Bucky Irving, might have been the earliest we've seen him go. And man, people have been loading up on running backs in these later rounds, and he still has just one. I'm kind of anxious to see who he picks here. Maybe he had somebody in mind. He has Puka Nacua, T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Brandon Ayuk as his receivers. So he has 4 really good receivers and Bucky Irving. So we will say in this format, you can start 2 flex players to go with 2 running backs and 2 receivers. So he can use those receivers all in those flex spots. But I'm anxious to see what he does with his number 2 running back here. Kind of like some of these players, but man, it's getting slim pickings here a little bit, Howard, for those running backs.
Oh, you know what? I mean, look at best player available here.
I
love this
Let's
feature.
pull it up.
Show the kids at home how to do it.
Yeah, that little wheel there on the left, you can click on that, and then it asks you, and you can sort by position. So you got Tyron, Tracy, Tajay Spears, Zach Charbonnet, Ramondre Stevenson, Tank Bigsby, Jadon Blue. I mean, he went with Cam Scatterboo, so that's his number 2 back. Oof.
I mean, if you believe that Cam Scatterboo is going to be the short yardage guy near the goal line, then there is some value to be had there. If Tyrone Tracy, that would really suck for Tyrone Tracy for sure. If he's like the between the 20s guy and Scatterboo just gets all the inside, the inside the 5 touches. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's if I want that as my RB2 though, Jeff. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I think that was one of my most disheartening draft picks of the NFL draft was Scatterboo, because I really like Tracy coming into this season. I thought he was going to have a huge year, but with Scatterboo now there, that scares me. I mean, he had some huge games last year, Tracy. He catches the ball well. I think he was just learning how to, run between the tackles. This guy was a converted receiver, hasn't been playing running back a lot. I was excited about his chances going into this season, but I feel like Scatterboo just kind of, clouds that an awful lot for me.
A little rug pull right out from under you, Jeff.
Right from under me. Not happy about that. We got TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram this round. So 3 tight ends go in round 8. This is about where, that second tier starts to really, go off the board. We've talked in the past. I think you and I are both on the same page with Evan Ingram. We like him a lot. I think Brett Campbell, obviously, he's been listening to us a lot. So if he ends up failing, he may come back after the season and get on us, Howard, because he has a lot of our guys on his team, I feel like.
Hey, man, listen, you know what? Ride or die. Like that's just the way it is. And if it doesn't work out for us, Brent, well, of course we'll take ownership, because you know what? I'll be getting clubbed like a baby seal also, right? I mean, it's not like, I'm telling you to go and do it and then being like, right? If Brent's team sucks here, my teams are going to suck.
True statement. Yeah, Tyrone Tracy just went now to the OVO. I mean,
OVO, look at him. He is just rocking it with the running backs here. Barkley, wow. Taylor, Hampton, Mixon, Judkins, Tracy. I mean, you're locked in. You're locked in.
For sure. I mean, by doing that too, though, you're taking, as the Wolfman used to say, you're playing some defense there too. You're taking some players away from other teams as well in your league. When you go that heavy on running backs and teams that have kind of ignored it, it can definitely change the dynamic of a league by doing that.
Yeah. Well, what do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 teams right now.
Which
Thunder God still has a pick, but 4 teams right now who only have 5 actually. 5 teams that only have 2 running backs through like 7, almost 8 rounds.
Interesting.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
So when Brett says we're head to head in the 528 draft, I'm Dirty Randy, and I gotta go back and gotta go look at that stuff now, Brent. Okay.
So
interesting.
As always, we do these drafts every Wednesday. I will not be here next Wednesday, but Howard's gonna take it over and do a live stream of the draft. So you can get in that right now. It is up on the site. If you want to sign up for the Fantasy Life Championship draft for a chance to win $500,000, go right now, RTSports.com. Click on that Money League link. You can do that. We had another draft tonight that was going off for the Fantasy Championship, but I think it filled already. So we have 2 going off tonight. They're going off a lot now. So if you want to get in a Fantasy Life Championship draft, it used to just be, a couple a week, but we're doing them every night now. So if you want to get in one any night of the week, you can go ahead and do this. And like tonight, there's 2 going off. So they're slow drafts as well. Definitely lots of chances to get into the Fantasy Life Championship draft and get a chance to win $500,000. There's also league prizes as well. It's not just this big overall one. Definitely worth your time to get in the league and try to, win some big money. So it looks like Brent's not too happy Zach Charbonnet got picked in round 9.
I was just going to say, right, the peril of being in a draft where somebody is taking all of those running backs off the board, because that definitely elevates when some of the handcuffs are going to go. Because at some point or another, the teams that don't have running backs are going to get, I'm not going to say in a panic, but they're going to want to make sure that they're getting somebody who either has some standalone value or is, just an injury away from taking over the job. So, yeah, that's tough when a guy takes, look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 running backs through his first 8 picks. I mean, that's definitely that's going to change some things up, the dynamic of the way a lot of these drafts are going.
Exactly. And when you're looking at it, I know it kind of just depends on your build, but when you're drafting at this point, you looking for guys with standalone value, or you looking for guys that maybe are going to try to, hit big if they end up being a starter? What's your strategy? You do, it could be different for a contest like this as well. What are you thinking?
I mean, I just posted something. There's a video out there. You can always find me at RotoBuzz Guy talking about handcuffing, right? Because not every running back has a true handcuff, and not every running back should you handcuff, right? Like, I mean, I'm not handcuffing Derrick Henry to who? Justice Hill? Dude, sharing the backfield no matter what anyway. But a guy like, Kenneth Walker, handcuff him to Charbonnet, who would step in immediately. You got to do that. You see where these guys are going right now. Rounds 8 and 9 are where the guys that they should have, like a guy like Jordan Mason and J.K. Dobbins. These guys have standalone value, right? Yep. Which is something that I want. So if I'm not handcuffing like Walker or somebody, I'm taking a guy like Mason or Dobbins, a guy who I do think has standalone value, but also kind of a heartbeat away from the presidency.
Agreed. Yeah, I hear you. And when you're looking at backs around this round 2, these last few rounds, is there any that you kind of have been some of your targets? I mean, I'm kind of intrigued by Jordan Mason. I think RTS Loyalty did a good job, though, of pairing him with Aaron Jones. Already had him on his roster, but kind of intrigued by Mason a little bit. Spears is another guy I think could end up getting a little more work this year. Were there any guys in this range that you're kind of more bullish on?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that, Spears, they're already talking about a split backfield with Spears and Pollard. Brian Callahan has mentioned this now multiple times, so you do have to pay attention to that. I think Mason has the standalone value, and Aaron Jones does have a little bit of an injury history. So I think that's I haven't been targeting Tajay Spears. I've been targeting Jordan Mason a little bit in this spot. I like Najee Harris over here in the 8th as well. Everybody's so, gung-ho about Amari and Hampton. The Chargers, granted, did you think that Amari and Hampton was going to fall to you in the draft? Maybe, maybe not. You invested $9.5 million to Najee Harris with $5 million guaranteed. Dude's going to have value. Dude's going to run the football. They're going to share the workload. Maybe Amari and Hampton turns out, turns it up a little bit, and this, later on as the season goes on, and maybe he gets a heavier share of the workload. I don't know, but I like the veteran who the team signed and paid guaranteed money to make that happen.
So I do not have one share of Omarion Hampton in any league at this point. I got concerns about him for that price tag that he's going at. I just worried about him, kind of for what you said about Najee Harris. I think I'd rather have him in round 8 than take Hampton. And he's normally going in, round 3 in a lot of the drafts, but he went the 4th round here. So I just don't know if I can do that, quite frankly.
No, I totally understand.
All right, Howard. Yeah, we're like about 10 rounds into it now, starting at 10th round. We like to do this at this point before we get out of here. Not every team has a QB, but a lot of them do. So we're seeing a lot of the builds. Who do you like at this point? Got to give our favorites before we get out of here.
I tell you what, 4th and Forever's come out from out of nowhere there with Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyron Williams, and James Cook up top. And then look at what he did with his receiving core. Evans, nice. DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy. Listen, if it's Flacco to start the season, he's going to throw the football. So Judy's got value. I think Pickens has good value in Dallas. Ricky Pearsall, people like it. I love a mobile QB and Bo Nix. So 4th and Forever is definitely getting like my little my shout out. I love you too, Brent. Don't be like that. I have to share it a little bit. And 4th and Forever has kind of come from out of nowhere here to surprise me a little bit.
Yeah, after you mentioned his team, that's definitely the one that stands out to me. I mean, Jerry Jeudy in round 6, and see, when I look at that and I see Travis Hunter going in the same round, and you got Jeudy and Ridley, I don't get why you would take Hunter over either of those guys, in my opinion. I'm getting Ridley or Jeudy there at that point. They're just going to get the targets. So that's who I'm looking at that point. But man, I want to give a different team than you gave for 4th and Forever. So let me peruse this board here a little more.
Viper's not so bad. Hey, James Gabal, 117. Great pick there of Isaac Guerrero to handcuff him to McCaffrey. I applaud you, my man. That
Corey Johnson team took Cam Scatterboot and then Will Shipley. Interesting. I don't know if I'd take Shipley ahead of Guerrero. I know that he didn't have McCaffrey, but
Will Shipley's just a Saquon Barkley heartbeat away.
Yeah, he's not Saquon Barkley.
Hey, Saquon's got 2 major knee injuries under his belt already. Come on.
I'll go with Break You Alumni for my pick. We were talking about him earlier. I like the Kelsey pick. I like the Burrow. I like the Lamb. I think he's got 3 really elite options there. And then Chase Brown and Breece Hall. I wish he had a little better running back depth, but J.K. Dobbins, strong pick in round 9 after hearing Denver come out and say one of those beat writers was just mentioning how he thought Dobbins could end up starting to open the season. So I'll go with him for my pick, Howard. But I'm like you. I like that 4th and Forever team a lot. Howard, fun stuff as always, talking with you on Wednesday nights here, going over these Fantasy Life championship drafts. Are just a lot of fun. It's great to get a feel for where all these players are going, and the season's really ramping up. I mean, next week at this time, there's going to be training camps opening up. Wow.
Crazy, right?
Crazy.
Exciting.
I'm looking forward to it, though. I know that. Love when the camp opens. You hear all the scuttlebutt and, as you mentioned earlier, best shape of their lives. We're going to hear that 500 times, but you do have to take some of that stuff to heart a little bit. You need to definitely pay attention, keep an eye on all those X feeds out there and see what those beat writers are saying, get a feel for it. So it's starting, and it's a lot of fun doing these Fantasy Life Championship drafts. As mentioned, we'll do another one next Wednesday. Howard will be on 2 broadcasts at 1 live, and you can get in it right now here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. Howard, thanks again for joining me. Really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody out there as well for watching. It's been a lot of fun. Good luck in all your drafts coming up, and get in one today at RealTime Fantasy Sports. Go to RTSports.com.